Hello everyone. Okay, today we are going to discuss nitrogen family, that in 15th group family in the P block. Okay, yesterday in the last lecture we have seen the carbon family, and before that we have seen boron family, and before that we have already seen the alkali metal and alkaline earth metal from the S group. So today we are going to see 15th group family, that in 15th family, and that is what called nitrogen family. Is it or not? Okay, in this family we will see elements like nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth. Okay, so now you people understand in a what trend we are going. So first of all we will write electronic configuration of the elements. Fine. So electronic configuration, before that I'll write number of period. Okay, period number if I write, then nitrogen is in the second group, again it is in the, phosphorus is in the third group. Okay, arsenic is in the fourth group, antimony is in the fifth group, and bismuth is in the sixth group. And we people know that from the sixth orbital, f orbital, from the sixth period f orbital will be start filling, and from the fourth orbital there will be an d orbital present. Fine. So if you write electronic configuration, before that you have to write noble gases that is filled before the element, that is helium. Here we can write neon, here we can write argon, here we can write krypton, and here we can write xenon. These are the noble gas filled before the element. Fine. Now if you see configuration, then general electronic configuration from the for the nitrogen family is 2s2, that is for example ns2 and np3. So for example if we want to write for the nitrogen, then the configuration would be helium ns2, that is in the second period it is, that's why it is 2s2 and 2p3. Likewise if you see for the phosphorus, then it is 3s2 3p3. If you write for the arsenic, here you need to write d orbital, so there will be an 3d10 4s2 and 4p3. Likewise if you write for here 4d10 5s2 and 5p3, and likewise if you write here 4f14 5d10 6s2 and 6p3. Fine. So these are the general electronic configuration of the elements. Likewise if we see which are the metals, which are the non-metals, and which are the metalloids, so here nitrogen and phosphorus both are the non-metal. These both are non-metals. Okay, fine. If you see arsenic and antimony, then these both are metalloids. Okay, these both are metalloids. And if you see bismuth, bismuth is the only metal in the 15th group. This is having the metallic property, and that's why it is metal. Fine. Okay, one more thing if we discuss here, metallic character is top to bottom increases. So we can write here top to bottom increases. What is increasing? Okay, metallic character top to bottom increases. Are we clear? Okay. Next we will see these elements exist in the which state. Fine. So next we will see, if we take an example of nitrogen, then nitrogen exists as a diatomic form, that is N2. We can say it is in the diatomic form, and it is in the gaseous state. It is in the gaseous state. Other elements like phosphorus, these elements exist as a E4 element like P4, AS4, SB4. Okay, polyatomic molecule. Fine, polyatomic molecule, polyatomic form we can write. Fine, and they are in the solid state. Are we clear? Fine. Why we have not considered bismuth here? Because bismuth is a metal, and have you ever heard sodium is in the Na2 form? Potassium is in the K2 form? No, they exist as an individual molecule. Is it or not? So sodium exists as a Na, one Na atom. Not they are in the diatomic form like Na2, Na4, Na6. Fine. So generally metal exists as a individual molecule, and here if you take an example of bismuth, then it is a solo atom, that is in the monoatomic form. Monoatomic form. Okay, monoatomic form, and here you can write in the solid state. Are we clear up to this? Okay, so these are the states, elemental state. Fine, you can write occurrence. If you see occurrence of this molecule, you can write minerals or you can write occurrence. Okay, I'm writing occurrence. So these are the basic minerals we have to study. Those are 3 times Ca3PO4 twice, that means calcium phosphate, okay, into CaX2, here X is equal to either you can write fluorine, either you can write chlorine, either you can write hydroxy group. Okay, if you write fluorine here, if you write fluorine instead of X, then the name of the mineral would be fluoroapatite. Okay, fluoroapatite. Okay, fluoroapatite. I'm sorry. Okay, next if you write for the chlorine, then it will be a chloroapatite, and if you see for the hydroxy, then it would be hydroxyapatite. Okay, so these are the general mineral that you can write for the phosphorus. Fine. Okay, next we will see 2 saltpeters. Okay, that is, one is Indian saltpeter, and that is KNO3. This one is the source of nitrogen, you can say, and here we will write chili saltpeter. Okay, chili saltpeter, that is for the nitrogen, and that is NaNO3. Are we clear? So this one is the occurrence, or you can write the minerals for the phosphorus and nitrogen, which are in the maximum, which is having the maximum abundance. Fine. Okay, next, now if you see here there will be less number of exception compared to the boron and carbon family. Fine. If you compare, we have studied so many exceptions in the electronic not in the electronic configuration, but atomic radius, electronegativity, ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy. There are so many number of exceptions we have studied in the boron family and carbon family. But from now, that is from the nitrogen family, oxygen family, halogen and noble gas family, you will see less number of exception compared to the other 13th and 14th group family. Fine. So here I may write physical properties, that is the periodic property. If we write physical property, then atomic size, or you may write atomic radius. There is no change in the atomic radius, and it is top to bottom increases. Okay, it is top to bottom increases. Fine. If you write electronegativity, so there is not much change in the electronegativity if you write. So it is top to bottom decreases. For example, for the nitrogen, the value of electronegativity is 3.0. Likewise, for the phosphorus, the electronegativity value for phosphorus is 2.1. Likewise, arsenic, likewise antimony, and likewise bismuth if you write. Okay, so value for arsenic is 2.0, value for the antimony is 1.9, and even for the bismuth is 1.9. and we people know that why they are similar, because the overall attraction for the bismuth and antimony's electron towards the nucleus are same, and that's why electronegativities are same. Fine. Next we see, if we write about melting point and if we write about boiling point, then there will be some change in the order. Fine. In the melting point, arsenic and bismuth have changed their position. And from now we will see top to bottom. Okay, for the melting point and boiling point. The general order, what is the general order? Here from the top to bottom, if you go from the non-metallic to metallic, if you go, the melting point and boiling point increases down the group. Fine. Up to now we have studied the top to bottom melting point and boiling point decreases. Fine, we have seen in the boron family, boron has the highest melting point and boiling point, likewise carbon has the highest melting point and boiling point. But from the nitrogen family, here top to bottom melting point and boiling point increases. Fine. Okay, so if you see top to bottom increases, then there should be a maximum melting point is of the bismuth, not of the arsenic. But here arsenic and bismuth has changed their position, and likewise in the boiling point antimony and bismuth have changed their position, and otherwise order is in the regular manner. Okay, so these are the order for the boiling point and melting point of the elements. Okay, fine. Next, if you see density, okay, if you see density, there is no change in the density. Top to bottom density increases. Okay, we have seen two exceptions in the density. Fine. Which two exceptions? We have seen that calcium's density is lowest in the alkaline earth metal, and there is one exception between sodium and potassium. There should be an highest density of potassium instead of sodium, but actual order if you see, then sodium's density is more than potassium. These are the two exceptions we have seen in the S block element for the density. We have not seen the exception in density in the other p block element, that is carbon family, boron family, or you can say nitrogen family. So it is in the regular order, density top to bottom increases. Fine. Okay, next if you see ionization potential, that is value of ionization enthalpy, or you can write ionization potential. So what is the general order? The general order for the ionization enthalpy is top to bottom decreases. Is it or not? Fine. It is in the regular manner, there is no change, and ionization enthalpy, or you can say ionization potential, top to bottom decreases, and there is no change with the value of ionization potential. And we people know that for the any element, ionization enthalpy number 1 and ionization enthalpy number 2, ionization enthalpy number 3, that gradually value for the ionization enthalpy increases whenever you move from the first ionization enthalpy to second and second to third. Fine. So these are the basic periodic property, you can say. Fine. Next we will see the tendency to form pi bonds. Is it or not? Okay, tendency to form pi bond, tendency to form pi bond. Okay, now if you see, pi bond are of two type. Either it would be a p pi bond, and either it would be a p pi d pi bond. Okay, fine. Now if you see p pi bond, nitrogen will form p pi bond between the same electronegative atom, or you may say with the same size atom, with the similar size atom, nitrogen will form p pi bond. So if you write an example for p pi bond in nitrogen itself forms 2 pi bond with the another nitrogen atom. Fine. That's why N2 is stable. N2 in the gaseous form is stable, and that's why it shows inert behavior. Fine. Okay, if you see nitrogen that forms bond with the carbon, likewise nitrogen can form bond with the oxygen. Okay, so these are the p pi bond example, and all bonds are stable. Nitrogen never forms p pi d pi bond. Is it or not? Nitrogen never forms p pi d pi bond. But if you see phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, these all are having, see, bismuth will form metallic bond, so we will not consider bismuth in this. But if you check phosphorus, arsenic and antimony, phosphorus is a non-metal, and even phosphorus never forms p pi d pi bond. Fine. So I am writing here phosphorus, sorry, it is in the P4 form, that will not form p pi d pi bond. Fine. So the 15th group family will not form p pi d pi bond. And now if you see the phosphorus bonding in the phosphorus, if you compare single bond, then phosphorus single bond is much stronger than nitrogen single bond, and that is higher than arsenic single bond. Okay, what can you conclude from this? Okay, if you see catenation property, here I can write bond strength. If we can see here, it is a bond strength. Fine. So phosphorus single bond is having more strongness in the bond than that of the nitrogen bond. Okay, fine. So this one is the bond strength. Now if we write catenation, what do you mean by catenation? A property of an element to bind with the same element. Fine. Carbon can bind with the carbon, silicon can bind with the silicon, germanium can bind with the germanium. But which are the stable bonds? The bond strength is higher and the catenation is higher. Fine. So if you see carbon bond and silicon bond, then carbon bond is stronger than silicon bond. That's why carbon can make 25, 30 number of carbon chain, and silicon cannot form longest silicon chain. Okay, so catenation property is the property of an element to bind with the same element. Okay, fine. So catenation, if you see, then phosphorus shows much more greater catenation property than nitrogen and then arsenic. Nitrogen can form up to 3 nitrogen atom. Fine. Arsenic can form 2 arsenic atoms together, and phosphorus can bind more than 4 phosphorus atom. Fine. If you see 3 nitrogen atom, then example is azide ion, N3 minus ion, in which 3 nitrogen atoms are together, or you can write HN3 is hydrazoic acid, which you have studied in the Smith reaction. Is it or not? Fine. So this one, in which you can see nitrogen can form maximum 3 bonds, that is 3 nitrogen can together, fine, at a time. Likewise, if you see arsenic, 2 molecules of arsenic can be together at the same time, and likewise phosphorus, more than 4. You will see in the allotropes of phosphorus that in the red phosphorus there will be a polymeric chain. Fine. So there will be a number of phosphorus atoms together. Are we clear up to this? Fine. Okay. So these are the tendency for the formation of pi bond. Okay. If you see next, then okay. If you see next, then we will start the properties, that is chemical properties, and first of all I am discussing the reaction with the hydrogen bond. Okay, I am saying the reaction, okay, reaction of 15th group family with the hydrogen, that is H2. Okay, fine. So all element that is nitrogen form NH3, likewise phosphorus form PH3, likewise arsenic form ASH3, likewise antimony form SbH3, and likewise bismuth form BiH3. Okay, fine. We'll write the names of the compound formed by the hydrogen and 15th group family. We can write it as a ammonia. Okay, likewise we can write phosphine. Okay, we can write phosphine. Okay, we can write arsine. Likewise, for the antimony, you can write stilbene. Okay, we can write stilbene, and here we can write bismuthine. Names of the compound. Fine. If you see the properties of this compound formed, then I'll write first of all melting point and boiling points of the compound formed with the hydrogen. And I'll share one thing: nitrogen, oxygen and fluorine, these 3 elements forms hydrogen bond. Fine. These are the 3 major elements that forms hydrogen bond. Okay, nitrogen can form hydrogen bond, even oxygen can form hydrogen bond, and fluorine can form hydrogen bond. If you see an example of hydrogen fluorine bond, that is in the HF molecule, is it or not? If you see OH bond, that will be in the ammonia. Fine, but here you can note HF forms strong hydrogen bond. HF forms strong hydrogen bond in liquid state. Likewise, for the nitrogen you can write NH3 forms strong hydrogen bond in solid state. Okay, so this you can note. Fine. Now if you see NH3 forms strong hydrogen bond in the solid state, and if I want to convert a compound from the solid state into liquid state, that is what called its melting point. Okay, and what do you mean by boiling point? You are changing the phase from liquid to vapor. That is what called boiling point. Fine. So here if you see, nitrogen forms strong hydrogen bond in the solid state. So for the melting point I have to heat more. Fine, and that's why exceptionally NH3 is having highest melting point, and other order you can write top to bottom increases. So second I will write bismuth, BiH3. Next I will write SbH3. Next I will write AsH3, and last I will write PH3. Is it? Fine. If you see boiling point now, in the boiling point you see NH3 forms strong hydrogen bond in the solid state, not in the liquid state. So boiling point of nitrogen is higher but not highest. Fine, like in the melting point, NH3 is having highest melting point, but in the boiling point there will be a higher boiling point but not highest. So highest it would be of BiH3, then order is SbH3, then in the middle we will write NH3 and then AsH3 and then PH3. Fine. So if you see general order, then if it is top to bottom increases, then nitrogen should be at the last. Fine, but in the solid state nitrogen forms strong hydrogen bond, that's why its melting point is highest, and in the liquid state it is not forming strongest hydrogen bond, and that's why its boiling point is between the antimony and arsenic. Are we clear up to this? Okay. Next we will see covalent character. Okay, covalent character. Next we will see thermal stability. Okay, next we will see thermal stability. Next we will see basicity. Fine. And lastly we will see reducing property, or you may say reducing nature. Okay, we will write this much order for the hydrides of the group 15 elements. Okay, if you see covalent character, fine, covalent character, see metal forms ionic bond generally. Fine, metal with the hydrogen forms ionic bond because hydrogen is a non-metal and there is a metal between metal. Bismuth is a metal, so there is a ionic bond between bismuth and hydrogen. And if you see non-metal bond between the non-metal and non-metal, then nitrogen and hydrogen both are the non-metal, and metallic character top to bottom increases. So if you see between two non-metal there will be a pure covalent bond, there will be a ionic bond between one metal and one non-metal. So we can say covalent character will be decreases down the group. Is it or not? Fine. So we can write here NH3 is the most covalent, then PH3, then AsH3, SbH3 and then BiH3. Fine. Here you see metal and non-metal. This is kind of ionic bond, and here both are non-metal, so this is one is the covalent bond. So metallic character decreases, covalent character decreases. Fine. Okay. If we write thermal stability, now here we have to consider a concept of the bond length. Fine. If I ask you bond length of the nitrogen and hydrogen, you may say it is 100 picometer. Now if I ask you bond length of bismuth and hydrogen, you will say it is 150 picometer. Why? Because the bond length of the hydrogen is fixed, but there will be a size difference between nitrogen and bismuth. Nitrogen is smallest in the size, hydrogen is smallest in the size. If you see the bond length, there will be 100 picometer, 50 and 50 for example. But now if you take in bismuth, then bismuth is having 100 picometer radius and hydrogen is having fixed 50 picometer radius. So total radius of total bond length would be 150 picometer. So bond length increases as you go down from the nitrogen to bismuth. Fine. Bond length increases, bond strength decreases. If bond strength decreases, then you will have to provide less amount of energy to break that bond, and that will be not called as a thermally stable compound if it easily breaks. Fine. So here I will write thermal stability. NH3 is having highly thermal stability, then PH3, then ASH3, then SbH3, and then BiH3. Are we clear? Fine. Basicity. We people already know ammonia is a base. We have never seen ASH3, SbH3 and BiH3 as a base. Fine. PH3 is a weak base and comparatively ammonia is a strong base. How we can study this? You see here, if we say nitrogen is having a smaller volume and it is having a 2 electron, that is lone pair of electron, due to this Lewis basicity is occurs. Fine. Due to donation of this lone pair, Lewis basicity happens in the molecule, and now if you see phosphorus molecule, then there will be a one lone pair, but size of the phosphorus is larger than size of the nitrogen. So if you see nitrogen is having a smaller volume and there will be a 2 electron, and if you see phosphorus, there will be a larger volume and there will be a 2 electron. So charge density decreases. Fine. Charge density decreases, and that's why donation of lone pair will not happen in the case of arsenic, antimony and bismuth. Okay. The larger the volume and there will be a 2 tiny electrons. It couldn't be donated. Fine. Okay. That's why basicity we can write NH3 is greater than PH3, and also we can write ASH3, SbH3 and BiH3 are not basic. Are not basic. Are we clear? Okay. Next thing we will see reducing nature. Okay. Fine. How will you say reducing nature? Liberation, capacity to liberate hydrogen, that is what called reducing nature. Again I am saying capacity to liberate hydrogen atom, that is what called reducing nature. Okay. You have to compare whether the nitrogen hydride will easily donate hydrogen atom or whether the bismuth hydride will donate hydrogen fast. Okay. So if you compare bond length again, bismuth and hydrogen is having the longest bond length and nitrogen and hydrogen is having the shortest bond length of the hydrides of the 15th group family. So here longer the bond length, easy to break that bond, and there will be a fast liberation of hydrogen. As fast as hydrogen liberated, that is the good reducing compound. Fine. So reducing nature if you write, so bismuth hydride is more reducing than antimony hydride, and then you can write ASH3, you can write PH3 and you can write NH3. Are we clear? Okay. So this one is the reaction with hydrogen and the sum of the orders of 15th group family with the hydrogen. Fine. Okay. next we will see stable oxidation states. Okay, next we will see stable oxidation state. Okay, now if you see the stable oxidation states, here nitrogen will show all oxidation states between -3 to +5, but other groups oxidation state, if you want to write, then -3, +3 and +5 are the highest stable oxidation states of the 15th group element. Now if you see nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth, I want to write stable oxidation state, then nitrogen can show -3, +3, nitrogen can even show +5 oxidation state. Okay, if you see phosphorus also can show -3 oxidation state, it can also show +3 oxidation state, it can also show +5 oxidation state. As you move down the group, the minus oxidation state stability of -3 oxidation state getting decreases. Why? Because the negative oxidation states are stable for the non-metal and positive oxidation states are stable for the metal. Is it or not? Fine. So here these two are non-metal, but arsenic and antimony are metalloids and bismuth is the metal. So bismuth will never show negative oxidation state, and even arsenic and antimony, due to its low electronegativity, mostly or commonly you can say show only +3 and +5 oxidation state. Okay, +3 and +5 oxidation states, and bismuth will also show +3 and +5 oxidation state, but +5 oxidation state is less stable. Why is it less stable? So in the previous lecture we have already studied the concept of inert pair effect. Is it or not? Fine. So due to inert pair effect, bismuth is having +3 oxidation state, which is more stable than +5 oxidation state. Are we clear? Okay. But here nitrogen will show all oxidation state from -3 to +5. Nitrogen will show all oxidation state. Phosphorus exceptionally shows +1 and +4 oxidation states in the oxo acids and with the oxygen. Okay, these are the exceptional oxidation state of phosphorus. Okay, fine. We'll write one table in which the compound which shows the particular oxidation states for the element. Okay, so we'll write one small table in which there will be an oxidation state from -3, -2, -1, 0, +1, +2, +3, +4 and +5. Okay, there will be an elements nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth. Okay, fine. If I ask you to write oxidation state of nitrogen in which nitrogen is in the -3 oxidation state. Okay, so example is ammonium ion NH4+, you can write NH3. These are the example in which nitrogen is in the -3 oxidation state. Likewise you can write PH3, ASH3, SbH3 and BiH3. With the hydrogen they shows minus oxidation state. Okay, now -2 oxidation state. So these all elements will not show -2 oxidation state, even they will not show -1 oxidation state. Okay, but here if you consider nitrogen atom, then nitrogen show -2 oxidation state in a hydrazine NH2, in a hydroxyme, that is NH2OH, it will show -1 oxidation state. Okay, 0 N2, P4, AS4, SB4 and Bi. Okay, we have already discussed why they are in the tetraatomic, that is polyatomic form, and nitrogen is in the diatomic form. Fine. If we write +1 oxidation state for the nitrogen, then we can write N2O. Okay. If you want to write for the phosphorus, then oxo acid we can write H3PO2, in which phosphorus is in the +1 oxidation state and no other element shows +1 oxidation state. Okay. If you write for the second, that is +2 oxidation state, NO is the compound in which nitrogen shows +2 oxidation state, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth will not show +2 oxidation state. Now +3, all compound will show +3 oxidation state. We'll write N2O3, in which nitrogen is in the +3 oxidation state. Likewise, if I write P2O3, then it is not stable, so I'll write its dimer, that is P4O6. Then likewise AS4O6, SB4O6 and Bi2O3. Okay, we will write dimers of the phosphorus, arsenic and antimony. We will not write dimer for the nitrogen and bismuth. Fine, because they are stable as a Bi2O3 and N2O3. Okay, if we say +4 oxidation state, then NO2, or you may say N2O4, is the compounds in which nitrogen shows +4 oxidation state. If you see phosphorus, then P4O8 is the example. We'll see the structure of P4O6, P4O8, and for the +5 it is P4O10. We will see the structure of these oxides of phosphorus. Likewise, if you see N2O5, it is stable in the monomer. Phosphorus is stable as a dimer. +4 will not show by arsenic, antimony and bismuth, but the +5 oxidation state will be shown by arsenic, and that is in the form of As2O5. Likewise, Sb2O5 and Bi2O5. So this one is the table for the oxidation state of the elements and its compound. Okay, we already know that the oxidation state, highest oxidation state of the element can be shown with the higher electronegative atom. Okay, fine. If we talk about phosphorus, then phosphorus will show +5 oxidation state with the chlorine, bromine, oxygen, and fluorine, the highest electronegative atom. If you see bismuth, +5 oxidation state of bismuth will only be shown with the fluorine and oxygen, because this fluorine and oxygen are the higher electronegative elements, and that's why they show higher oxidation state. Are we clear up to this? Okay, fine. Next we will see, after oxidation, we will see the reaction, or you can say the property with the, we have already seen the reaction with the oxygen, you see. Okay, if you write oxides, fine. Okay, oxides of group 15 family, we'll write there are two type of oxides, that is E2O3 and E2O5 type of oxides can be formed by 15th group element. We have already seen those all oxides in the periodic table, oxidation state table, previous one. Here you can see, just we have written, these are the oxides, you see, N2O, NO, N2O3, NO2, N2O5, and this one is the oxides for the phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth. Fine. So we have already seen the oxides. There are two type of oxides we have seen, E2O3 and E2O5 type oxide. Okay, fine. I'll write acidity. Because those are the non-metallic oxides, so they are acidic in nature, and if it is metallic oxide, then they are basic in nature. Fine. So if I write acidity proportional to oxidation state acidity proportional to oxidation state. So I can write E2O5 type of oxides are always more acidic than E2O5 type, E2O3 type of oxide. Fine. If, second point, if oxidation states are same, if oxidation states are same, then as electronegativity increases, acidity increases. Okay, fine. So for example, N2O5 is more acidic than P2O5, then AS2O5, then SB2O5, and then Bi2O5. Okay, so these are the oxides for the 15th group family. Fine. And here if you can write N2O5, here for example you can write N2O5 is more acidic than N2O3. Why? Because this one is in the +3 oxidation state and this one is in the +5 oxidation state. Okay, and that's why they are more acidic. Are we clear? Okay, so these are the oxides, and now we will see halides. Okay, now we will see halides. If you consider halogen, then there will be a two type of halides. Is it or not? Okay, if we give heading halides, okay, there are two types of halide, that is EX3 type of halide, and EX5 type of halide. Okay, fine. If we talk about nitrogen, then nitrogen only forms NF3, and which is stable. Is it or not? Here NCl3 is explosive. Okay, NCl3 is explosive. NBr3 and Ni3 are not stable. Okay, here if you see, bismuth only forms BiF3, and which is ionic in nature. Okay, bismuth only forms BiF3 in the trihalides. Okay, bismuth only forms BiF3 as a trihalide, and which is ionic in nature. Okay, fine. Now if you see for the phosphorus, if you see for the other arsenic, antimony and bismuth, then all forms trihalide. And here if you see bond angle, then PF3 having least, that is smaller bond angle according to VSEPR. PCl3 is having larger bond angle, PBr3 and Pi3. Okay, this one is the bond angle. And now if you see, we will see EX5 later. First of all we will complete the EX3. Fine. Okay, this one is the bond angle. Another you can write hydrolysis. Okay, hydrolysis. So if we hydrolyze NCl3 and if we hydrolyze PCl3 with the 3 molecule of H2O, here you can see in H2O there will be a H plus ion, there will be a OH minus ion, OH minus ion. This nitrogen will attach with the hydrogen and this Cl will be attached with the OH, and it will form 3 times HOCl. Okay, likewise if you hydrolyze PCl3, then here phosphorus will attach with the OH minus ion and Cl will be attached with the H plus ion. So here in the product there will be a 3 moles of HCl and there will be a POH thrice, that is H3PO3 you can write. Okay, so this one is the difference between two hydrolysis. Same way if you hydrolyze SbCl3, SbCl3 with the H2O, SbCl3 with the 1 mole of H2O, then here you will get 2 moles of H2 and 2 moles of Cl will liberate 2 HCl, and here you will get SbO plus and Cl minus. Okay, SbO plus and Cl minus, that is SbOCl. And same with the bismuth, if you hydrolyze BiCl3 with 1 mole of H2O, it will form BiOCl plus 2HCl. Okay, one more thing, this reaction is in the equilibrium. Here now you see, on the right hand side there will be a 2 HCl which is in the equilibrium with SbCl3. Fine. Now if you add more amount of HCl, then SbCl3 will not hydrolyze, because in the HCl it is in the right hand side. According to Le Chatelier's principle, if you increase the amount of product, then there will be a reversible reaction and equilibrium will shifted in the left direction. Okay. So whenever you add HCl in the hydrolysis of SbCl3, there will be a no hydrolysis, because this reaction is in the equilibrium. Are we clear? Okay. So this one is the EX3 type of the molecules. Now we will see EX5 type. Okay. Next we will see EX5 type of halides. EX5 types of halide. Okay. Fine. EX5 type of halides are more covalent. These type of halides are more covalent than EX3 type of halides. Okay, then EX3 types of halides. Second thing, phosphorus will form PF5, PCl5 and PBr5. Now there is no point of discussion why nitrogen is not forming pentahalide. Fine, because we know that nitrogen doesn't have d orbital, and that's why its covalency cannot be greater than 4. Fine, that we have already seen in the head elements. Whenever we have studied the boron family, I told you in the head element property that the maximum covalency for the head element of p block family are 4, and for the other element it could be 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, fine. So phosphorus forms PF5, PCl5 and PBr5. Likewise, arsenic and antimony forms fluorides and chlorides, that is AsF5 and AsCl5. Likewise, Sb can form SbF5 and SbCl5. Likewise, bismuth only forms BiF5. Fine. One more thing. Here if you consider PCl3, PBr3 and Pi3. Okay. In the solid state, sorry, I am talking about pentahalides. I am talking about pentahalides. So instead of PCl3, I should write PCl5. Okay, PCl5. If you write in a gaseous form, then it is monomer. And it is covalent. Okay, it is covalent compound. But if you see PCl5 in the solid state, then it is in the ionic form. And exists as a PCl4 plus and PCl6 minus. Is it? It exists as a PCl4 plus and PCl6 minus. Okay. Likewise, if you see PBr5, then in the gaseous form, it is a covalent. Okay. Same way, in the solid form, it exists as a ionic compound and it exists as a PBr4 plus and Br minus. Okay, likewise Pi5, very less stable. Here I have not written Pi5, but still I am writing here. Fine, that is very less stable in the gaseous form. In the gaseous form, it exists as a covalent compound. It exists as a covalent Pi5 compound. But if you see in the solid state, it is an ionic compound. It is an ionic compound and exists as a Pi4 plus and I minus. Are we clear? So these are the pentahalides of the group 15 family. Fine. Okay. Next we will see the structure of oxides and structure of the oxo acids. Fine. Next we will see the structure of oxides. Okay. So I am giving a heading structure of oxide. Structure of oxide. Fine. You see now. First of all, I am writing the structure. Okay, fine. We can write one table for the nitrogen oxide. It is very important. Fine. Here you can write N2O. Okay, fine. Okay, we'll write one small table instead of this. Fine. You see, you can make a table. Formula. Okay, formula. Then name of the compound. Then name of the compound. Then oxidation state you can write. Okay, after oxidation state you can write color. Okay, you can write color. You can write a physical state. Okay, enough for the oxides. Fine. If you see the formula N2O, second I will write NO, third I will write N2O3, fourth I will write NO2, fifth I will write N2O4, and sixth I will write N2O5. Okay, fine. Name dinitrogen oxide. Dinitrogen oxide, is it? The name are very easy. Now this one is the nitrogen oxide. Nitrogen oxide. You can write dinitrogen trioxide. Is it? Dinitrogen trioxide. Trioxide. Okay. Next you can write nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen dioxide. Next you can write dinitrogen tetroxide. Tetroxide. And last you can write dinitrogen pentoxide. Dinitrogen pentoxide. Okay, fine. Oxidation state +1, +2, +3, +4, +4 and +5. Okay, +5. Okay. Okay, next you can see color. Fine. Color, and you can write nature of the compound last. Okay, nature, that is acidic, neutral, basic, you can write. Fine. So N2O and NO, those are the colorless. Okay, those are the colorless compounds. Fine. N2O3 is a blue color compound. It is a blue compound. Fine. NO2 is a brown color compound. Okay. And again these both are colorless. These both are colorless. Okay. Fine. Physical state, if you see, N2O is a gas. Again N2O is a gas, but N2O3 is a blue solid. So it is in the solid form. Of course NO2 is in the brown gas. We all know that. We have seen it practically even. Okay. And even we have inhaled some of the NO2 gas, chlorine gas. We all people have inhaled these gases. Fine. N2O4, either it would be in a solid phase, either it is in a liquid phase, but it is in the solid phase. Fine, the last compound is in the solid phase, and if you see nature, then it is neutral. Fine, again neutral, again these all four are acidic. Okay, these all four are acidic. Fine. Okay, next we will see the structure of the oxides. Fine, next we will see the structure of the oxides. Fine. Okay, see, the first for the NO structure is N triple bond N plus O minus. Okay, fine, this one is the structure, and these all nitrogenated oxides can have resonating structures. Fine, so we will not write resonating structures. Okay, this one is the N2O, I am sorry. Next we will write NO. Okay, this one is the first oxide is N2O, and that's why I have written first N2O. Okay, next we will see NO. So nitrogen oxide, here there will be a one extra electron on nitrogen, and there will be a double bond, and this one is the structure of NO. Third, you can write N2O3. The structure for N2O3 is N, okay, N single bond N, there will be a one covalent coordinate bond O, double bond O, and here there will only be a double bond O. Fine, it could be a downside, it could be a upside. Fine, okay, and there will be a lone pair on the nitrogen atom. Fine, here I am writing the fourth oxide, that is NO2. Same for the NO2, nitrogen possess one extra electron. Here there will be a oxygen and there will be a double bond O. Okay, so this one is the structure of NO2. If you want to write a structure of N2O4, that is just a dimer of NO2, N2O4, then nitrogen single bond nitrogen, double bond oxygen, covalent coordinate bond oxygen, covalent coordinate bond oxygen, and double bond oxygen. Fine. Okay, if you like a structure like this, then it would be a diamagnetic by nature, and if you just write this double bond O upside and covalent coordinate bond downside, then it would be a paramagnetic by nature. And last oxide, that is N2O5. Okay, there will be a NO-N bond, there will be a NO-N bond with N double bond O, covalent coordinate bond O, likewise double bond O, covalent coordinate bond O. Fine. So these are the structure for nitrogen's oxide. Okay, next we will see the structure of phosphorus oxides. Fine. Okay, fine. So first of all, I will write structure for the P4O6. Okay, so there is an easy structure, there will be all POP bonds. Okay, there is nothing new in this structure. Okay, so this one is the 4 oxygen atom, 4 phosphorus atom, and there will be a 2 oxygen atom in the bridge. Fine, there will be a 2 oxygen atoms in the bridge. So this one is the structure for the P4O6. Okay, likewise you can write structure for the P2O6. Okay, we have not mentioned this in the earlier, but it possess peroxy linkage. Okay, so POOP with the double bond, we have written 2 oxygen atom, and now we people know there would be a 2 double bond with the same phosphorus, and here 2 double bond and here 2 double bond. Fine, so this one is the structure of P2O6. Okay, third structure, if we draw it, this one is the P4O8, and last structure we will draw, that is fourth one, P4O10. Okay, Fine. If you see the structure of P4O8, then this structure is common here and even here. Okay, there is 2 more oxygen atom and there is 4 more oxygen atoms. Now you see, I am writing first P4O10. Fine. So there will be a same structure, P O P O P O P O. Okay, now I will put 2 bridge oxygen atoms, that is oxygen and phosphorus, and that is oxygen and phosphorus. Is it or not? Fine. Now there are 4 extra oxygen. Of course there are, that is bonded with the all 4 phosphorus atoms with the double bond O. Okay, so simple structure. And now if you see, there are 6 oxygen atoms, there are 10 oxygen atoms, and now I have to write 8 oxygen atoms. So I will not write 2 double bond O and I will write only 2 double bond O. Is it or not? So these all are the very easy structures of the oxide. Okay, oxygen, phosphorus, oxygen, phosphorus, oxygen and phosphorus. Okay, I will write 2 bridge oxygen atoms here. Okay, fine. And I will write only double bond O with the 2 phosphorus. Are we clear? Okay, so these are the structures of phosphorus with the oxygen, and now we will see the structure of phosphorus with the sulfur. Okay, the structure of phosphorus with the sulfur, I will write first P4S3. Then here phosphorus, instead of oxygen there will be an sulfur atom. Okay, there is nothing new. Instead of phosphorus atom there will be a sulfur atom. Okay, sorry, by mistake I have written here sulfur oxygen, but here there will be a sulfur atom. Okay, so here you can easily remember this structure. You see PSP, PSP, and there is one more oxygen atom in the bridge. Fine. Okay, now you see the another example. Second one is P2S5. I have to add 2 sulfur atoms. You just need to remember the position where I am adding that sulfur atom. Fine. 1 sulfur atom I will add here, and 1 sulfur atom I will add as a double bond S. Okay, so the structure is, again I am writing the same structure PSP, but now I will have to put 1 sulfur atom between these 2 phosphorus. So again this sulfur and this phosphorus. Okay, this phosphorus is bonded with the another phosphorus atom. That phosphorus is bonded with the sulfur atom, and that is with the phosphorus, but here 1 P double bond S bond is there. Fine, we have added 2 sulfur atom and other structure is similar. Okay, so this one is the structure for the P2S5. Okay, if I ask you to draw another structure, that is third structure P2S7, then P2S7, if I ask you to draw, then again I have to put 2 more sulfur atoms. So 1 sulfur atom I will put between this and this phosphorus atom, and 1 more sulfur atom I will put as a double bond S. Fine. Okay, so the structure would be P S P S P, again there will be a 1 more PP bond S P. Fine, 1 sulfur atom added. Okay, you see, I'll let you know which sulfurs are newer in this structure. Fine, and there is 1 P double bond S. Okay, fine. If you see, this one is the basic structure P4S3. Then first of all, at this position, you see, at this position and at this position I have added 2 sulfur atom. Fine, this is the two new sulfur atoms. Again you have added 2 more sulfur atoms, that is between these 2 phosphorus atom and here with this sulfur atom. Is it or not? Okay, now you just add 1 more structure, that is the P4S9, last structure P4S9. If you see, there will be a all sulfur atom. One more sulfur I will add here and one more sulfur I will add here. Fine. So if you draw this structure P, S, P, S, P, S, P, S and P. Okay. There will be a two bridge phosphorus, S, P and S, P. Is it or not? Fine. Okay. There will be a P double bond S, there will be a P double bond S and there will be a P double bond S. Now which two sulfur atoms are newer? Then this P double bond S is newer and this POS bond is newer. Okay. So you can see one sulfur atom you are putting, every time you are adding two sulfur atom. One sulfur you are putting between two phosphorus and one you added as a P double bond S. You see, one sulfur you have added between two phosphorus. Here you see there is a PP bond, here PSP is there, and one you have added as a P double bond S. Again from this to this you have added P and P. Between two phosphorus you have added one sulfur atom and there is one more P double bond S. And again you have added sulfur between two phosphorus and one is P double bond S. Easy? Fine. Okay. Last we will see oxo acids. Okay, oxo acids. Fine. Okay, we will see the oxo acid. This one is the very easy topic, you can say. First for the nitrogen we will write. First for the nitrogen we will write, and in which first is H2N2O2. Second we will write HNO2. Third we will write HNO3 and fourth we will write HNO4. Okay. What is the name of the H2N2O2? That is hyponitrous acid. Okay, hyponitrous acid. Nitrous acid, is it or not? Nitrous acid. Third one is nitric acid. Okay, and last one is pernitric acid. Okay, pernitric acid. Okay, you can write these structures. N double bond N. Okay, and it is bonded with the OH and OH. Fine. If you see nitrous acid, then this one is the structure for the nitrous acid. Is it? If you write in structure of nitric acid, then HON covalent coordinate bond O, double bond O. This one is the structure of nitric acid. And if you write the pernitric acid, then HOON double bond O and O. Okay, so these are the structures. Generally, if you see oxo acids, then in the oxo acid there must be one double bond O and one OH bond present. Fine. But here you see in the hyponitrous acid, it is a oxo acid of nitrogen and still it doesn't possess N double bond O. Okay, it contains OH but it doesn't possess N double bond O bond, but still it is a that is a oxo acid of nitrogen. Fine. So I will write some requirements. What can be the oxo acid? Fine. What can be the oxo? So oxo acid, in oxo acid there should be presence of one double bond O and one OH, that is hydroxy group. Okay, this one is the first requirement. Second, hydrogen bonded to oxygen is acidic in nature, and hydrogen bonded to central atom are basic in nature. Okay, fine. Third thing you can write, more the number of hydrogen bonded with central atom, more reducing the acid is. Okay, hydrogen which is directly bonded to the central atom are basic in nature, and hydrogen bonded to the oxygen atom which is acidic in nature. Fine. So if it is basic in nature, it should show reducing character, is it or not? Fine. So number of hydrogen bond, that is number of hydrogen atom that is bonded with the central atom directly, not with the oxygen atom, directly bonded to the central atom, will decide the reducing property of the oxo acid. Okay, if you don't understand this concept, we will see it in a phosphoric acid, we will see in the oxo acids of phosphorus. Okay, because here there is no hydrogen atom which is basic, all hydrogen atoms are bonded with the oxygen atom, there is no hydrogen atom directly bonded with the nitrogen. If any hydrogen is bonded directly to the nitrogen, then that will be a basic in nature. Fine, but here all hydrogens are acidic in nature, but we will see in the phosphorus acids in which there are some hydrogens which are basic in nature. Fine. So next we will see the oxo acids of the phosphorus. Okay, now see. Okay, if you write for the phosphorus, first acid is the H3PO4. Fine, you can write it as a phosphoric acid, is it or not? Phosphoric acid. Okay, fine. The structure of phosphoric acid I already mentioned, there should be one double bond O and there should be one OH bond present with the central atom. So here it is an oxo acid. Okay, there is two more OH bond, and this one is the structure of H3PO4. Fine. Okay, I'll make some acids, again I am repeating, I'll make some acids from the basic acids. This one is the basic acid. Now you see, I want to prepare a phosphoric acid series, then I'll take phosphoric acid. Now I'll writing pyrophosphoric acid, pyrophosphoric acid. Okay, what I'll do, I'll take 2 moles of P double bond O, OH, OH and OH. Pyro means what? You take 2 molecules of acid, you bind with them and remove H2O from the middle. Fine. Okay, you take 2 moles of acid and remove H2O. So this one is the HO, P double bond O, OH and OH. Fine. What it happens? See, if I remove this H2O minus H2O, then there will be a structure of pyrophosphoric acid. So what it would be like? P double bond O, O, P double bond O, OH, OH, likewise here OH and OH. Easy or not? Fine. So pyro is the 2 molecule of acids reacts together, or you may say it is condensed to give H2O. Fine. Okay, this one is the pyrophosphoric acid. Fine. Okay, third one, that is another easy acid. Third acid is pyrophosphoric acid. We can write third acid as a hypophosphoric acid. What we can write? Hypophosphoric acid. Okay, what is the hypophosphoric acid? You take pyrophosphoric acid and remove middle oxygen. You take pyrophosphoric acid and remove this oxygen which is in between 2 phosphorus. You remove that oxygen and write the as it is structure. So I'll write P double bond O, OH and OH. Again that is P double bond O, OH and OH I'll write. Fine. I have removed the between this oxygen. See, I have removed this oxygen from the pyrophosphoric acid, and that becomes hypophosphoric acid. Easy or not? Is it? Fine. So this one is the hypophosphoric acid. Okay, fine. If someone asks me to write peroxomonophosphoric acid, okay, peroxomonophosphoric acid, monophosphoric acid, okay. Mono means one phosphoric acid unit in which peroxy linkage is present. Fine. So I'll take this structure now. Fine. P double bond O. I'll write OH. I'll write OH, but instead of OH, I will write OOH, which is what called peroxy linkage. The structure of peroxo monophosphoric acid. Again, fine. Fifth, easy one. I am writing peroxo diphosphoric acid. Peroxo diphosphoric acid. Okay. So you take diphosphoric acid. You see, this one is called phosphoric acid, pyrophosphoric acid. I may even write diphosphoric acid because these are the two units of phosphoric acid. So diphosphoric acid and pyrophosphoric acids are the same. But here I have written diphosphoric acid, but there is one peroxy linkage. So here instead of one oxygen, I will write two oxygen atom. You see, P, O, O and P, and other things are same. Double bond O, OH, OH, and on the another phosphorus there is two OH and one double bond O. So this one is the peroxo diphosphoric acid. Easy or not? Fine. Okay. These are the 5 acid. Okay. Next I will see. Next we will see the 6th acid. Okay. Those all are the phosphoric acid. Now there is one more phosphoric acid which is in the polymeric form, and that is what called metaphosphoric acid. Okay. Metaphosphoric acid. And one more thing about oxidation state I will let you know. This we have seen. If you calculate oxidation state of the phosphoric acid, then here the phosphorus is in the +5 oxidation state. Then just close your eye and put +5 oxidation state in the every phosphorus atom. Why? Because those all are the units of phosphoric acid. If in the phosphoric acid the oxidation state of the phosphorus is +5, then in the other all phosphoric acid the oxidation state would be same. So no need to calculate. Just if you see an oxidation state, the name phosphoric acid, then you just put oxidation state that is +5. Okay, fine. Next, metaphosphoric acid. Again the oxidation state is +5 because this one is the phosphoric acid, and what is we are saying. We can write here, this one is the always in polymeric form. Okay, always in the polymeric form. Fine. Now you see P double bond O, OH. Okay, sorry, P double bond O, O and OH. This one is the unit, monomeric unit of metaphosphoric acid. Okay, you may write it as a HPO3 n times. HPO3 n times. Are we clear? Okay. I'll write few examples of metaphosphoric acid. For example, if we want to write first example, that is cyclotrimeta. Cyclotrimeta phosphoric acid. Cyclotrimeta phosphoric acid. Okay. So there should be an cyclic compound. There should be a 3 times metaphosphoric acid. Fine. So I am writing here P double bond O and OH, and there is one more oxygen atom. Can I write this one is the 1 unit of metaphosphoric acid? I'll have to write how many units? There should be an 3 unit. This one is the second unit. Okay, this one is the second unit, and here I am writing third unit of metaphosphoric acid. Is it or not? Yes, I have written 3 units. Fine, just I will join with each other. This oxygen is bonded with this phosphorus oxygen, and this phosphorus oxygen. So this one is what we can say cyclotrimetphosphoric acid. Okay, if someone asks you about linear polymetaphosphoric acid, listen to me carefully. Linear poly, that means number of units are present, and metaphosphoric acid, just you need to open this chain, put it in a bracket and just write n times. Is it or not? Fine, I am writing here, you see. Fine. Second one is linear polymetaphosphoric acid. Is it or not? Yes. So you see, P double bond O, OH, O. This one is the 1 unit. Okay, this oxygen is bonded with the another unit, but I have written here bracket. Okay, this one is the second unit, you see. Okay, this one is the second unit, P. Okay, again double bond O, OH, and this one is the oxygen. This one is the second unit. Is it or not? Again I am writing third unit, P double bond O, OH and oxygen. This one is the third unit, and last one I am writing fourth unit, and this could be n times. Okay, and here it attaches with the another unit, so this one is the n time. I have written 4 units, just I will join it by the oxygen phosphorus linkage, first unit, second unit, third unit, likewise. So this one is the linear polymetaphosphoric acid. Are you clear about metaphosphoric acid? Okay, fine. So next we will see seventh acid. Next we will see the seventh acid, that is H3PO3. Okay, we have seen phosphoric acid. Now this one is the phosphorus acid. Phosphorus. Okay, phosphorus acid, that is H3PO3. Now you can compare phosphorus double bond O, there is one OH, there is second OH, and there is one hydrogen atom directly bonded to the phosphorus. As we have discussed, if any hydrogen is directly attached to the central atom, that is basic in nature, and here these 2 hydrogens are acidic in nature. Fine, I am writing 9 number, that is H3PO2, that is what called hypophosphorus acid. Hypophosphorus acid. Okay, and structure would be P double bond O, one OH atom, and there are 2 hydrogen which are directly bonded to the phosphorus. Okay, so in this acid, this hydrogen is acidic by nature and these 2 hydrogens are basic in nature. If I ask you, out of these 2 structures, 7 number and 9 number, which is the more basic, or you may say which is the more reducing character, which is having more reducing character? Okay, the number of hydrogen atoms are more, which are directly bound to the central atom, are more reducing in nature. So this H3PO2 is having more reducing property than this H3PO3. Fine. Okay, and 8 number I will write di or pyrophosphorus acid. Okay, we can write here phosphonic acid, and here you can write phosphinic acid. Okay, fine. This one is the another name of phosphorus acid, that is phosphonic acid and phosphinic acid. Okay, fine. Di or pyrophosphorus acid. We people know that you just take 2 moles of acid and you remove one H2O, as we have shown earlier. So this would be the structure of di or pyrophosphorus acid. Are we clear? Okay, so these are the oxo acids of phosphorus. Fine. Okay, next we will see the last point of the nitrogen family is allotropy. What it is that? Allotropes. Allotropes. Okay, so here nitrogen not shows any allotropes, but nitrogen shows isotope. Nitrogen shows isotope, that is 14N and 15N. Okay, fine. Nitrogen does not show any of the allotropes, but phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth, this shows allotrope, and we will study allotropes of phosphorus. Allotropes of phosphorus. Okay, so I'll write here, one is white phosphorus, one is red phosphorus, and one is black phosphorus. So this one is the white phosphorus, okay, this one is the red phosphorus, and this one is the black phosphorus. Okay, we will see some properties of the allotropes of phosphorus, that is in the form of P4. Okay, white, red and black. Okay, beta makes two types of black phosphorus, that is alpha black and that is beta black. Okay, fine. If you see preparation, then from the red phosphorus, if you heat it at the 803 Kelvin, then it will be converted into alpha black phosphorus. And likewise, if you see white phosphorus, if you take white phosphorus, heat it at the 473 Kelvin temperature at the 4000 to 12,000 atmospheric pressure, then it will be converted into beta black phosphorus. Now this beta black is more important because this beta black resembles the graphite like properties. Fine, we have seen the graphite. Graphite is having the layer structure. Fine, that layer which is bonded with the van der Waals forces. Again I am telling you, graphite is having a sheet like structure, layer like structure, 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, 4 layer. Between these 2 layers there is no bond, there will be only a van der Waals attraction between 2 layers, and we have seen the distance between 2 layers is 340 picometer. Likewise in the beta black phosphorus, distance between 2 layers is 368 picometer. Okay, so beta black resembles what? It resembles graphite. Okay, it resembles graphite. Okay, distance between two layer is 368 picometer, is 368 picometer. Okay, fine. Next we will see the bond angle, phosphorus bond angle is 99 degree. Okay, fine. And we can write the bond length is 218 picometer. Okay, in the beta black phosphorus. And yes, one more thing, it is an good electrical conductor, Okay, fine. These are the properties for the black phosphorus. Now we will write the same for the white phosphorus. Okay, so white phosphorus is poisonous. Okay, white phosphorus is poisonous. Likewise red is non-poisonous. Okay, second thing, this one is the white or yellow in color, and this one is the red in color. That's why it is called red phosphorus, and that is why this is called white phosphorus. Fine. If you want to prepare red phosphorus, then white phosphorus is heated at the 573 Kelvin temperature. It will be converted into P4 red phosphorus, but you have to keep it for several days. you have to keep it for a several days. Okay, 3 days, 4 days, you have to put it for some days. At the 573 Kelvin, this white phosphorus will be converted into red phosphorus. Okay, next, it is insoluble in water, insoluble in water, and you may write it is partially soluble, it is partially soluble in CS2, it is partially soluble in CS2. If we want to write density, then density of the red phosphorus is 2.06 gram per centimeter cube. Fine. And one another thing, does not reacts with alkali. Okay, does not reacts with alkali. Okay, fine. If you see the white phosphorus, then white phosphorus having density, white phosphorus is having density about 1.84 gram per centimeter cube. Likewise, if you see solubility, then it is also insoluble in water, but radially soluble in CS2. Okay, next, if you see, next preparation, if you see, then white phosphorus, you can prepare it for the minerals even, but the more that is one property. You see, this does not react with the alkali. If you want to separate red phosphorus and white phosphorus, then you have to react it with the alkali. Fine, white phosphorus will react with the alkali and red phosphorus will not react with the alkali. Fine. So white phosphorus with alkali, you see P4 plus 3 NaOH, okay, plus 3 moles of H2O forms 3 NaH2PO2 and plus PH3. Okay, this is what called sodium, this is what called sodium metaphosphite. Okay, sodium metaphosphite. Fine. So that can be a reaction from that you can distinguish the red phosphorus and white phosphorus. White phosphorus will react with the alkali and red phosphorus will not react with the alkali. Okay, this one is the white yellow solid compound and it is a waxy solid. Okay, this one is the waxy solid, highly poisonous. This one is the non-poisonous. This white phosphorus can burn with the oxygen, with the air, can burns with air. Okay, this one is the highly reactive, burns with the air. Okay, one more thing, we will write the structure. If you see the structures for the white phosphorus and the red phosphorus, you see we have seen the beta phosphorus, that is like an graphite. Fine, but if you see the red phosphorus, then it is in the polymeric form and that's why it is comparatively stable than the white phosphorus. Okay, red phosphorus is stable than white phosphorus. Why? Because it is in the polymeric form. White phosphorus is less stable and red phosphorus is more stable. Fine. So this one is the structure of red phosphorus, and right now I am writing here white phosphorus, which is comparatively less stable. Why? Because bond angle is just of 60 degree. This phosphorus is sp3 hybridized, and you people know if there is an sp3 hybridization, then bond angle should be 109 degree and 28 minutes, but there will be a more bond strain. You see, there will be only 60 degree bond angle, and that's why it is less stable and easily those bonds will get break because there will be a strain in the bond. Fine. Okay, so bond angle PPP is 60 degree, and if you write the bond length is 221 picometer. Okay, are we clear up to this? Fine. So here we are keeping the nitrogen family, and next we will see oxygen family. Till then, take care.